may want to use that street to walk my kids, push a carriage, for the kids playing ball on the street, how concerned should I be?
So the connector road has been designed with separate sidewalk facilities, so walking should occur on a separate dedicated facility that is protected from the roadway. And the connector road has also been designed so that no residential driveways take access to it, which is generally where activities can spill from the driveway into the street. So as a public street with no driveways from residential properties, it should not be a playground. And that design helps to limit that possibility by not having driveways, where, as I said, is the common area where driveway activities can spill into the adjacent public roadway.
And I don't mean to be contentious here, but I'm also I think understand a little bit about kids playing sports. Give me kids who want to play sports of any kind, and they're not concerned about playing in the driveway. They are concerned about playing on the street, whether it's road hockey, rollerblading, anything like that. How concerned should parents be about their children's safety? And we're not just talking about young adults, we're talking about kids anywhere, let's say from 8 years old on. What should we be concerned about the safety based on the design that you've outlined?
So, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is in reference still to the connector road.
That's correct, yes.
Thank you. So, the connector road will be a public street, just like West Pleasant Grove Road is a public street. Although West Pleasant Grove Road has driveways that intersect it, the connector road will not. So I do not see any reason why there should be, playing in that public street, just as there shouldn't be in other public streets throughout the township.
And again, I understand the role of the mini roundabout, but as you look at the rest of the connector road, what kinds of traffic calming devices have you planned for? All the way down all the way down to south to 926.
Yes. So at this point, there are no additional traffic calming devices proposed along the connector road. It has been designed in accordance with the intent of the township for the connector road in the comprehensive plan, which is to accommodate local traffic movements to alleviate congestion along 202, 926, and the use of the cut-through pattern of West Pleasant Grove Road to New Street.
And as there will be no additional traffic calming devices, as you described it, are you suggesting then that the design of the connector road will be in and of itself a de facto traffic calming device?
As I referenced in previous testimony, there is certainly a horizontal nature to the design of the connector road, which does influence lower travel speeds than a straight linear roadway.
Final question for you. It's in two parts. Have there been any discussions between Toll and the school board regarding the location of school buses for pickup?
I cannot speak to that. I have not been involved in any conversations directly with the school district. Usually,
my second question then along the same lines is, when you are normally giving this kind of traffic analysis, under normal circumstances, maybe in other developments, are the locations for the school bus pickup part of the plan that you would have been analyzing, as opposed to saying to us, well, that's going to be something that the school board has to decide?
No, I have never prepared a traffic study where I've had the information on where school bus stops would occur. It has always been something that is at the purview of the school district, and they can change as it suits their needs.
And I'm hoping that Mr. Edelman won't suggest that I'm trying to ask you to speculate again. I'm taking for granted your expertise. If you were, based on your expertise, asked by the school board as to, in your view, where the school bus pickup should be, do you have a sense of what you might say?
Certainly, in accordance with, traffic engineering standards, we want these types of activities to occur in a location where it is highly visible, where other drivers can see in far enough advance that a school bus is stopped, and that it doesn't occur too close to any critical intersections where a queue behind the school bus would impact adjacent roadways. With those factors in mind, I think there are many locations within the development where school bus stops could occur in a safe manner.
Nicole, you've been very kind and patient, and Pat, that finishes my question.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pomerantz. Do either of the other board members have any questions? I'm not hearing anyone, but I want to confirm. Scott, do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions.
Carol, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I do.
Thank you.
On the mini roundabout, is it going to be a raised island or just markings? And have you considered that island in conjunction with plantings that sort of beautify the street and surrounding area?
So it is proposed to be a raised area, but only raised to the degree where it would be still comfortable for those larger vehicles to traverse it. A mini roundabout should not have the placement of any landscaping or other features within the central island that would not enable vehicles of a larger nature to traverse it.
And keeping that same drawing up for a second, because my second question is regarding the crosswalk and ADA accommodation for your pathway trail over to the other trail that is right on the other side of the street there, all the way up to the two schools that the township put in. Do you have in any other of your drawings a connection to that trail, or just the connection across the street there as I see on this drawing?
Sure. So the applicant proposes to provide pedestrian accommodations within their property and to the township right-of-way line. Beyond what is shown on this exhibit is outside of the right-of-way and outside of the control of the applicant.
Okay. The second question or set of questions I have is on West Pleasant Grove Road. In early parts of your discussion or testimony, you stated that you spoke with neighbors and they didn't want to widen the road. And then later on in subsequent testimony, you stated that you were going to be widening that road for sight distance issues. And so I'm wondering, what portion are you going to widen and which portion are you not?
Sure. So let me clarify what I testified to. First, we did hear from members of the public at previous planning commission meetings that they were not supportive of widening along West Pleasant Grove Road. And secondly, the applicant is required to widen West Pleasant Grove Road along their entire property frontage, half width from the center line, to provide a total of 14 feet from the center line to the southern edge of the cartway, in order to conform with township ordinance criteria for a collector road, which the township has classified West Pleasant Grove Road. So initially that was not provided, and the township's consultants commented that that was required. That widening is not required for sight distance. It is required in order to conform with the township ordinance.
Okay. And then because I'm not aware that West Pleasant Grove Road was reclassified as a connector road. Who has directed you to classify that road as a connector road to require the widening?
So we have received multiple comments from Al Federico that West Pleasant Grove Road is classified by the township as a collector road.
Through an ordinance or resolution, or just from an engineering consultant request?
That was the comment that we received from Al Federico.
Carol, I could probably clarify that for you, Carol. My recollection is it was done through a resolution, but we can confirm that offline. It was a number of years ago.
Okay, are you aware that it is designated as a historically, it is designated as a scenic road?
I am not familiar with that classification.
Let me just go through the rest of this. I think that's all for right now.
Thank you. Ms.
Now,
Kline,
I do have one more question.
Sorry.
This regards to your May 2020 traffic update. What other items specifically were asked of you to do to update during that COVID May 15, 2020 period in respect to traffic?
So there is a response letter contained in this document in Appendix A, which is a response to all of the comments received from Al Federico in his letter dated May 13th, 2020. And so that goes through a point-by-point comment and response in terms of what was addressed in the latest revision of the traffic study. And it is a number of items. So,
were any of them related to having to recount numbers of traffic use?
No, the last time we were asked through comments from the township's traffic engineer to update traffic counts was prior to the October 2019 traffic counts. So that satisfied any request for additional count data.
Great. That's all I need now. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nicole, I have 2 or 3 quick questions for you to clarify. So we've heard some discussion about Orvis Way and West Pleasant Grove Road, and I'm going to represent a couple of dates to you because I assisted the board in the actual dedication of Orvis Way. So I'm going to represent to you that the township accepted Orvis Way for dedication on November 18th of 2019, and then the deed for the road right-of-way was recorded on December 5th, 2019. So can you help me understand, if the road counts were done in October before the road was open to the public, do you in fact have actual counts for use of Orvis?
So during my testimony, I did say I believed Orvis Way was open, but thank you for correcting me, and I recognize that that was incorrect, that Orvis Way was apparently not open during the October 2019 traffic counts. As I recall, there was some discussion as we were working with the township traffic engineer and PennDOT on review of the count data and discussions of Orvis Way. That there were no additional concerns brought up about how that might change traffic. But then, of course, COVID-19 occurred, and all traffic patterns, would not have been appropriate to count, as the fluctuations in normal operations are impossible to predict. So it appears that we don't have counts open with Orvis Way, and although prior discussions did between us and the township's traffic consultant and PennDOT did not identify any concerns about Orvis Way not being open at that time.
All right, but needless to say, though, is that something that we need to go back to confirm and have counts, since that roadway is open and will be used, that intersection will be used post-development?
So we did incorporate the opening of Orvis Way into our traffic projections. The township reviewed and approved a study completed by TPD for that development and for that roadway connection. And so we relied on those projections. They are not real counts after it is open, but we do have an assumption of traffic utilizing that connection. And I will note that it is, until there's a full connection, which is proposed as part of this development from 926 to New Street, Orvis Way is more limited in terms of its usage. But that is what has been incorporated into the studies to date.
Did your studies account for the opening of the Ducklings daycare on Orvis Way and the
It
traffic
did.
that's generated from that?
Sure. It did. Sorry, there's some feedback. Give it a second here.
Ladies and gentlemen, again, if I could just remind you, please mute yourself if you're not speaking.
Thank you, Fran.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Ms.
Sure. Again, utilizing the TPD traffic study that was reviewed and approved by the township, we have incorporated the trips anticipated to be generated by that development.
A couple of other quick questions. If I read your study correctly, can you clarify for me why the collector road that's proposed is designated as a local road on the approach to 926, but described as a medium volume driveway on the approach to West Pleasant Grove Road?
PennDOT requires requiring the classification of the connection of the collector road at 926 to be designated as a local road. If the township requires some designation, we have yet to receive their feedback, which would be their purview at West Pleasant Grove Road.
That's fair. I just wanted to know the difference for the distinction.
Yep. Thank you.
And then the intersection at Street Road, New Street, you'll agree with me that whatever mitigation is going to occur there, PennDOT will be the ultimate arbiter of what gets done there. Is that right?
I believe you referenced West Pleasant Grove Road and New Street, but we're talking 926 and New Street?
Yeah, 926 New Street.
Okay. Yes, that intersection and any required improvements of the applicant will be under the purview of PennDOT.
So in light of the fact that you've provided the documentation from the Spackman properties and their desire not to grant additional easements or right-of-way, you've shared that information with PennDOT, which effectively eliminates the left turn lane, at least westbound. Has PennDOT then provided information to you about what they want to see moving westbound? Would it be a straight dedicated and a right turn lane at that point? Is that what you think you can get done within that right-of-way?
So PennDOT indicated in response to our sharing the information and feedback from Spackman's was that PennDOT would be looking for the maximum improvements that can be accommodated within the existing right-of-way. We do not believe that left turn lanes in either direction, and if you can provide one, you can generally provide the other because they shadow one another. We do not believe that dedicated left turn lanes can be provided along 926 within the existing right-of-way without any impacts to property outside of the control of the applicant.
Understood. So what have you looked at then for what the maximum improvement can be in your discussions with PennDOT? Are we looking at westbound a dedicated straight and a dedicated right lane? Is that feasible?
So we believe the maximum improvements that could be provided at the intersection could include some widening of the existing cartway. The lanes are relatively narrow if PennDOT chooses that direction. And as I stated earlier, the applicant can provide the dedicated right turn lane because that can be done within property that they control. So I think that would be the maximum amount of widening that could occur at the intersection.
And is that just for the westbound direction, or could there be a mirrored image of that on the eastbound side where you'd have a straight dedicated and a right turn, or is there not enough room on the eastbound side of that intersection?
No, there is not enough room on the eastbound side to provide any additional dedicated lanes within the existing right-of-way.
Okay. Last question. I saw some discussion about signal retiming for the intersections of the study along 926. So first, can you confirm where the signal retiming will occur? And what I didn't see was any notation at Dalmally Drive, which I believe during Crebilly 1 had been the subject of retiming. So can you clarify whether that intersection would be retimed, and if not, why not?
So that intersection has not been requested for study or for retiming to date on this particular application. Currently, based on reviews primarily from PennDOT, they have indicated that they will require the applicant to provide coordination of the signals along 926. The new intersection at 926 and the connector road intersection, as well as signal timing optimization at 926 New Street, with that new signal. And to this point, that is what has been required.
So no signal retiming at 926 and Birmingham Road either. Is that right?
No, that intersection has not been required for study or asked for signal timing optimizations.
Do you recall during the first Crebilly hearings whether Toll had discussed retiming of Dalmally Drive?
I do not recall. I believe, so Dalmally Drive is the intersection immediately to the east of 202 along 926. And I believe during the Crebilly 1 that PennDOT had requested at that time consideration of signal timing optimization during the project, if I recall correctly.
But you'd agree that if PennDOT asked for signal timing at that intersection, that you wouldn't object and Toll would comply with that?
That is correct.
Okay. That's the only questions I had. So it's almost 10 o'clock. Mr. Edelman, back to you on redirect. Do you have any more questions for tonight? You want to call it quits for the evening? I don't know if you have any additional questions.
Not for this evening. I'd actually like to reserve the right to call Nicole on rebuttal after all the other parties' witnesses have come on, and to the extent that I would need to do any redirect questions, I'll do them as part of my rebuttal testimony.
That's fine. I do see a hand up, so I'm going to go to that as our last matter. Ann Hellion has her hand up, and we already heard from you once, but I don't want to ignore you with your hand up. You're on the phone. No, I don't believe you are. But why don't we unmute Ms. Hellion and see why she has her hand raised real quick.
You should be able to unmute yourself.
Okay. I had a question about the permits for the from PennDOT and the township, that if the estimated numbers or the addressing of issues comes up as inaccurate, that PennDOT or the township can make adjustments or requirements. However, we won't know what they are until people move in to their homes. And at that point, is it too late to get the issues addressed? Because the people are there and the cars are there.
Nicole, if you're so kind, please.
Sure. So PennDOT holds highway occupancy permits, and those would be closed out by PennDOT upon completion of the roadway improvements and infrastructure put in place, which must occur at the beginning of the development. The township obviously, issues building permits on an individual lot and home basis. So they would have some rights to question items, as those building permits are requested. That is as much as I can speak to. That is not typically a process which results in additional roadway improvements. Typically, as I stated earlier in testimony, those are identified at the beginning through very detailed analysis and assessments. And, again, it is only if there is a significant issue that occurs that would have to be resolved by the applicant as part of those permits.
However, once the homes are built and people move in and the roadway is done, only then will we know what the impact is. So if it's way off, it's going to be up to the township or PennDOT to somehow make some adjustments, but Toll Brothers will have no responsibility.
I'm gonna object. These aren't questions. These are statements at this point.
I just asked
I-
Toll Brothers any responsibility.
There you go. There's your question. All right, ma'am, hang on. Hang on.
Post-permit.
Ma'am, hang on. You asked your question. Ms. Kline, can you ask, will Toll Brothers have any responsibility for addressing the traffic at that point?
Again, as I testified to, if there is an issue that is identified during the process of implementing the improvements that shows very clearly that an issue caused by the development is not resolved by the applicant's improvements, then certainly that is something the applicant would need to address with whichever agency, or should it be the township that it relates to, depending upon whether it's a township roadway or a PennDOT roadway.
Ma'am, anything further?
No.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Edelman, anything further from the applicant this evening?
Not this evening, no.
Anything further from any of my board members? Otherwise, that'll conclude the testimony of Ms. Kline. And if I don't hear anything, that's fine. With that, then, unless anyone has something that they'd like to offer, we're going to conclude the hearing for this evening. It will be continued until October 22nd at 7 p.m. Again, as I stated earlier, I expect that the hearing will be conducted via Zoom moving forward. If that changes, we will certainly let everyone know. Notice will go out to the parties as before with the instructions, and will be posted on the township website and go out via listserv. So unless there's anything further, I want to thank everyone for your participation and your patience this evening, and that'll conclude our hearing.
I want a dilly bar, Christine Lacey.
We're off the record.
That you're making me really hungry for one.
Thank you all.
Thank you.